Do you need some help sticking to your outline? My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. The comment came in and says, I need help. I'm writing a book and I'm a planner. I do the 3 act structure and then I do a chapter outline. Every time I start writing, I start to see problems. I want to go back and fix it. And then she continued on in the rest of her comment thread and said, I wind up with an entirely new outline and I don't want to do that. I want to stick to my original outline. I'm going to take this writer at their word that they know they want to stick to their original outline. So we're not going to give the advice of just be willing to let the story take you where it needs to go or be willing to be flexible, all of those things. We know that that advice is out there. This writer is aware of that. She doesn't want to do that this time. I'm going to assume that she knows what she wants to do with her book and with her career. And so the unfortunate, very boring advice here is that you're going to have to spend way more time in that outlining and planning phase. So right now, if you're using a 3 act structure and then you do a chapter by chapter outline and then start writing, but then once you are writing, you realize you have to go back and fix a bunch of problems in the plot, it means that your outline wasn't done. Now, if you are, like we've said before, willing to go ahead and see where the road takes you and make some changes to the story, that's fine. That's okay. You can dive straight in. But if you want to stay married to your outline, if you want your outline to get you all the way through the entire drafting process, you have to be totally sure that that outline is fantastic before you get started, which means you're going to have to spend way more time workshopping that outline than you have been up to this point. You're going to take that outline to your writing group. You're going to have them look for plot inconsistencies. You are going to talk about a whole bunch of different cascading problems and potential problems before you ever start really drafting. And while this wasn't specified in these comments, I'm going to imagine, because I know several people who do this way, where they make their overall plot and then they do their chapter by chapter outlines and then they start diving in and writing the book as it is. And instead, I'm going to encourage you to do something more similar to like the snowflake method. Now, I'm a phenomenally bad artist, but we are going to go ahead and roll with this. The snowflake method, in its most basic sense, is where we are talking about like setting, character, and plot. And these things are all going to intersect with each other throughout the story. And so when you have done your first plot, you know a little bit about your character, you know a little bit about your setting, you know a little bit about your storyline. And I don't remember which line I was pointing to when I said each of those things, so we're just going to roll with it and pretend like I pointed to the right ones. But now, instead of starting to write the story, you're going to take that very bare bones outline that you had and you're going to develop it a little bit more. So if this is your setting line, you're going to spend a little bit more time developing that setting. You're going to add a little bit of detail to it. If this is your character line, you're going to add a little bit of detail to it. You are going to spend some more time developing it. If this is your overall storyline, you are going to add a little bit more detail. You're going to develop it a little bit more. And I got bored drawing little lines on this, but you get the idea. So if you have taken this character line and you have added some detail to it, you are now going to look at those details and you're going to add even more to it. And you can see how this begins to snowflake its way out of the center of the story. And so that means that your outline is going to become much more detailed. Your outline is going to become much more cohesive and it is going to become much more rigid and much more structured. So if you are used to saying like, hey, I've got a 3,000 word outline for the story, no, you're going to be looking at something more like a 30,000 word or a 40,000 word outline. Now, does that sound almost like it's a skeleton draft? Yeah, kind of, but you are imposing a lot of structure on yourself before you start filling in all of the prose. So this structure, this very rigid, very robust outline isn't going to have a lot of dialogue. It's not going to have a lot of description, but it's going to have all of the pieces that are now locked in place so you can't vary from them. You can't stray from the path that you set for yourself.